He's Black Guy Fawkes, and I'm the other half of this, the internet's 14th favorite punk rock podcast. And together we are Fawkes and Friends. Today, the third friend who we are talking to about the creative process is Kiri Oliver of Early Riser.
1, 2, 3, 4. From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, what he got is fucking wrong. His land's not made for you and me. We're chatting built that wall as we tear down bottom stall. And watch our kids get slaughtered as they run straight through the hall. Let's go!
Ian, welcome back. I almost forgot we had a podcast.
I know. I forgot this was a thing. Not really, but I'm happy to be back doing this.
You've just been too busy for me.
This is not my fault. Like, the things have been a while. I've been working on a new record, and I just been getting ready for it. Really busy. I also just met Neil Patrick Harris just recently too, so that was fucking wild in New York. Adam from Ralph, Adam Schreiner, shout out. And now I'm getting ready for what's going to be a really busy time outside of getting this record done.
What do you have coming up? Why are you so busy?
Well, first off, in 2 weeks, you and we head to London, and I'm playing a sold-out show with Ralph, with Alice O'Brien, with Henshaw, and with Mexican Day. Like, it's a sold-out show, Aces and Eights. So, and this is my first show in London, and I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm really happy to sold out. Still know so much I got tattooed on my arm. Then when I get back into May, I'm playing at Dave Hawes' Single Song Festival in Philly. Myself, Frank Turner, Dave Hawes and the Mermaid, Tim Hawes, Balancing Souls, John Gallagher Jr., Speedy Ortiz, and just so many other people are going to be there. And that's May the 4th weekend. Then right after that, I'm going on tour in Canada with my girlfriends at Apes of the State and Sister Wife Sex Strike. Tickets on show for that right now for both of those. And yeah, lots of fun stuff coming up here soon.
And speaking of fun stuff, we should probably just jump into this interview with Kiri Oliver of Early Riser, because I had a lot of fun doing this. I love this band. I just genuinely, I'm not just saying that because they're on the same label as you.
First off, they're the best label mates of all time. Second off, they are a fucking damn good band. Me and Kiri, we just met last year. We met for the first time at Fest, and everything just kind of kicked off. And this was a lot of fun to do with her. Like, you just able to sit down and talk for a good bit without the background of festivals and shows. We're all just kind of running around crazy, like a stray dog. And speaking of that, let's get into the interview. Kiri Oliver, welcome to Fawkes and Friends. How you doing today?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Love the podcast.
And you're our first guest of the year. This is the kickoff episode for 2025.
Yay!
Oh, what a year it has been so far.
I know. I feel like it's been 5 years already this year.
Oh, we're going to get into more of that in a little bit, but I do want to talk about how we first met. I think we first met, on Instagram,
Mhm.
and then that's when you got signed to Asbestos, our label,
Mhm.
with dear old Matt Flood, and then we met for the first time at Fest.
Yes.
So, how did your Fest experience? That was my first one I ever went to, and it was shocking. It was interesting.
It was amazing. This is only our second time playing Fest and my second time going. And I feel like the first time I was really overwhelmed, just like having so much going on and being around people the whole time and not having too much time to myself. It was just a lot. But I don't know exactly what it was this time, but it was just a magical weekend. We had a great show. I got to see so many bands and so many friends. There's just something so special about just walking around Florida in nice weather and just running into people from all over the country that you haven't seen in a while. It really is such a nice community. And it was so fun that it worked out for you to come and do merch for us so that we could hang.
I think you hit me around like July about I want to do merch for you. And then so I went out. That was the first time meeting, and that was the first time seeing you guys play, and it was fucking great. I only saw like
Thank
two songs.
you.
I had to go sell you merch.
It's
yeah.
true. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. After the set, it's a big deal, playing a big show like that. And afterwards, I just kind of need to go hide in the back. And I really appreciate that you were out there, because usually it's just me and I have to go back out. It can be hard to switch gears when you've been nervous all day for a show and you're doing it and you're trying to stay present for it and you're looking at all the people and it feels so good. And then afterwards, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, I got through it. But it can be hard to just go right back out and be on and talking to people.
Well, me and Ed were out for Lord Jane Grace and E for Peanuts as well. Like, Ed did handle the merch. Then after I play, I'll just sit in the green room, just staring at nothing for like 15 minutes so I can just become a person again. Then I
You
can,
get it. Yeah, that's real. And then sometimes people are like, "Oh, I missed you at the table." I'm like, "I'm sorry. I would have loved to see you." But yeah, I was becoming a person again in the green room.
Now, with your band, Mikey Erg drums for you. How did he
Yes.
manage Fest, considering he was playing with every single band in Fest?
It's what he does. I mean, Tony knows all the set season and makes sure that there isn't any like ridiculous overlap. I don't usually see him having to run straight from one to the other. He's always got a few sets per day, but he's famous for managing that.
so on somebody playing with Mikey, let's talk a little about Early Riser. How did that project all come together?
Early Riser started as a solo project way back in like 2012. I was playing in another band with Heidi, our cellist. We were involved in the local scene. We booked a lot of shows, particularly shows with mainly like women and queer performers and benefit shows. That was really cool. If we did like a smaller show, like a house show, I started doing some little solo sets here and there. And then when our previous band broke up, I said to Heidi, "Do you want to play on my Early Riser stuff?" So we added cello to the song. So we were just like a acoustic duo, cello, guitar, harmonies for maybe about 2-3 years. We made our first record with studio musicians because we were having trouble figuring out like a lineup. We just like couldn't find a permanent lineup. And then shortly after that, we settled on our current lineup, which is Nicole Nussbaum on bass, who had recently moved from Boston. That's always great when you get fresh meat, like someone who's like new to the scene and has mutual friends and hasn't been snatched up by a band yet, and you can grab them. So we connected with her when we needed someone for our first tour, for our first record that we did with Derek, the Homeless Gospel Choir. And Heidi and I knew Mikey from a TV show that we all worked on called The Chris Gethard Show, a cult hit public access show that later actually became like a legitimate cable TV show. Heidi and I were the music bookers along with our friend Zane, and Mikey was the drummer in the house band. So we had known him for a bit, and he is known, as you know, for being in every band. So I didn't even know it was an option to ask him to play with us, and I don't even exactly remember how it came about that we played with him, but he was willing to just start doing some shows with us. And then at a certain point, you know, we said to Mikey and Nicole, like, "Hey, do you guys want to make it official? Do you want to like write another record with us?" And that was our record that came out in 2021. And Mikey was like, "Yeah, you know, like everyone thinks of me as being in every band, but even though I tour with different bands, I fill in with different bands, there aren't that many bands that I actually like write records with. And that's what I love to do. I love being in the whole process and writing the record and recording the record." So that was cool that was something that was like beneficial for all of us.
What is that process like for Early Riser and you guys?
I have a hard time keeping up with writing songs when I'm not in album writing mode. So usually we'll make a record, go through the whole promotion cycle, take a little time off, and then I'm like, okay, I feel ready to start writing again. And then once I have a few songs, I'll just start taking them into the band one by one, putting them together, and the album comes together while we're writing it. Like usually the last song on the record I'll write last. So things are coming together. And as I get more clear on what the theme is, and like, because I love full length albums. I know everyone now is moving towards like singles and EPs and stuff, but like I just love the album format. I love writing a thematic album and having it be a time capsule of that time in my life and those themes I want to capture. So as we get on in the writing, I'll keep writing new stuff and bring in the ones that I think are the best to fit with those songs and fit with that theme until we get to the point where I've written what I feel is like the closer or the thing that kind of sums it all up. And then we go in the studio.
So out of curiosity too, what made you just stick with just cello, acoustic, bass, and drums, no electric at all? Do you just want to keep it simple?
I think 2 reasons. One is that I always liked the idea of fronting a band on acoustic guitar rather than switching to electric. I really loved this band, Ockerville River, that had a lead acoustic, and I really like the front bottoms. Their singer has an amazing acoustic guitar tone. He plays that on a lot of the songs, and I just always thought that would be really cool. So when it came to like, oh, should I switch? I thought it would like really change the sound if I switched. And I like the acoustic with the cello, whether it's acoustic or with the band. And then it's like when it comes to adding a 5th member, if we were going to add someone else, that's a 5th member. And like, that's hard. In New York, like everyone's schedules and the practice space, like getting everyone in a room that you're renting. I think going from 4 to 5 members is a really big commitment. 4 people can fit in the car. We can go in the SUV to Boston or whatever and borrow a backline. Like you add another person. I feel like there's something about the jump from 4 to 5 that feels for me like, oh, you got a lot of people in this band. This is going to be hard to manage everyone. So that's honestly why, even though we thought about it a lot of different times, in terms of recording, we've just worked with producers that can help us balance out that sound in the studio. Like our last album we made with John Agnello, who was our dream producer. He's worked with so many amazing bands, made some of our favorite Hold Steady records. Laura Stevenson worked with Sonic Youth. Like he's such a pro. He's been doing this for decades. And something we told him going in is like, we really want help, like beefing up our sound, knowing like when and how to add the electric guitar really helped do the songs justice in terms of making them as anthemic as we want them to be, like without changing our sound and without making it something where when we play it live, it will sound too different. And I think we did that. Like they sound big on the record and we love how the record sounds, but we don't need to have another person come in order to be able to play them live. If we got like a huge show, sometimes people get like a really, really big opening gig, then you bring in your friend on guitar, you got a big stage, you want to fill it out, you bring in that extra person. But for just like playing a local show, I think the songs still work.
No, they definitely did. Like I said, at Fest, they sounded fucking masterful, even while I was in the merch room. So,
oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, the sound was really good there too with the Woolly, really good sound.
as far as the 4 to 5 members thing, I feel that a lot. I know me and Ed back in October, we dealt with such a tight car of just 4 people in.
Yeah.
How much stuff did we had a shit ton of candy corn too. So
yeah. And I
You
mean,
had that much candy corn?
It wasn't like it wasn't a single band touring together. It was our friends, the Peanuts. I'm keeping kayfabe, goddammit. The Peanuts. And so it was 3 guitars, 3 musicians, 1 fuck-ass tag-along friend who did all the driving and only almost killed everyone once. But just even navigating that, like, that was tough. I can't imagine. A cello is not small.
No, the cello needs a lot of space and it can't have anything on top of it. So we've gotten very good at the, the car Tetris, the van Tetris. But the acoustic instruments have to be protected. They have to be on top. Usually either there's backline or folks are nice about sharing because we can't bring the drums anywhere and all of our amps and stuff.
let's talk about growing up into music. What's your musical background? What did you grow up listening to? When did you start playing?
I grew up with a mother who was very musical. Her grandfather was a church organist. She played guitar and piano, and she got me in piano lessons when I was 8. And then I picked up guitar more in high school when I wanted to learn how to play punk songs and start writing my own songs. I feel like my first favorite band was Queen when I was about 8. Really into Queen, really into Billy Joel and REM, stuff that my parents played in the car, like things that they had on tape. When you're a kid, you're exposed to whatever your parents are listening to, and they had some pretty good stuff, a lot of 70s and 80s and 90s rock and stuff. And they were really into Enya. So I love Enya. I still to this day, I think Enya's the greatest. I think that was really exciting as a kid to just start developing my taste. When you're that young, you're not really exposed to like peer pressure or judgment yet of people being like, oh, this is cool, this is not cool. Like it's this magical time where you're just like, wow, I really connect with this. Like this song is so good. I want to listen to it over and over again. That's such a magical feeling. And it's fun to look back on that now being like, oh yeah, like no one was like, I don't know. I didn't have that peer pressure that comes in later.
And like when I was growing up, like similarly, like my mom in the car, my mom always had the Queen. She had Prince on. She had Tupac on. Like just like so, I got my inspiration from that. So I relate to that.
This is the moment where I feel old.
Don't feel old. You are old.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote an essay about that a few years ago for this website called Audio Femme about like the car tapes, and I made a little playlist of some of the stuff I grew up listening to. Also, Meatloaf. I love Meatloaf. Yeah.
It is indeed a tasty meal.
I want to make a Rocky Horror joke, but it escaped me at the moment.
That's one movie I like, but I never really got the hype over. On a side note.
Yeah.
What?
Like it's not a bad movie. Like I never realized the cult following.
Oh. Ian, I'm going to edit this part out. Just don't watch my Instagram story today if you haven't already. Just don't watch it.
Is it Rocky Horror related?
Somebody posted post a video of your personality thing. So I did the one night on Halloween that I went to karaoke in drag and did Sweet Transvestite.
Amazing. I'm going to watch
I
that.
think there's more of me showing in that video than you ever want to see.
I mean, I gotta watch for science. I'm gonna go back to the
For
river right
science.
after I do it.
For
but-
science.
For science.
For science.
I might leave this in.
Leave it
Okay,
in.
we ball.
That's really funny.
Yeah, favorite Queen song or album.
When I was a kid, my favorite song was Radio Gaga. I just thought it was like so cool.
I legit think that Killer Queen sounds more like it was made today than when it was made. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like it was
Yeah.
ahead of its time.
That's probably my
Yeah.
favorite one by them by far. Like it's so catchy, and it's.
I'm a nerd, so maybe Princes of the Universe just because it's the Highlander theme.
So also, you guys just put out a record last year, Big Life,
Yes.
on Asbestos Records. How do you like working with Matt Flood? He could be as mean or as nice as you want to be. Either way, I don't care.
Matt Flood has never been mean to us. He's so nice. I told him this, but I went to college in Connecticut, and that was where I really first got into the DIY scene. Growing up in New York, like when I got into punk in high school, I didn't really know about DIY. I mean, there wasn't like a ton. There were some places that I heard about, but I didn't have anyone to go with. So it was really when I went to college that I got into the DIY scene in Connecticut, and Flood was kind of a big deal. You know, he was running Asbestos. He had a message board. I was a lurker on the message board. So when I first talked to him about the record, I told him that. He's like, you would not believe how many people I still meet who tell me that they were lurkers on my message board in like the early 2000s. He's such an amazing dude. He has done so much for the scene for decades and loves vinyl, loves music, such a supporter of bands. And it really is a perfect fit. And like so happy that we got to work with him and be on a label with you.
Flood is decidedly an okay human.
He's a great human.
I sure love him pieces. Just like you told me I like so much Black Guy Fawkes just recently. I met him last year because we met I think just on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I don't use it anymore because fuck Elon. But
Yeah.
we just met on there. They just asked if he could put it out on my record out, Intrusive Lullabies on vinyl. Then since then, I've called him an N-word pretty much 3 times a day since then. So Ed can attest to that.
Can vouch. Yeah. I also want to say, like, I'm going to have a little fanboy moment here, Kiri, but Strays was one of my top songs of 2024.
I'm a scared rescue dog in the corner whose eyes tell the stories of where I have been. I'm sorry, I won't let you pet me. I just need some time before I let you in. 'Cause no one tells you that leaving is only the start of chipping away at the glacier surrounding your heart. So give me all your patience and give me lots of time and give me reassurance this life is truly mine. We're all a little broken, but now we're less alone. We're all a bunch of strays just looking for a home.
Like, I fucking
Thank you so
love that
much.
song. It's such a good conceit. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but like trauma and social awkwardness into, the same thing as what a abandoned or stray pet might feel. And that song just hit me so hard, and I love it.
Thank you so much. I owe all of my animal related ideas to the Weaker Thans. Everyone who has followed us for a bit knows that we're all huge Weaker Thans fans. We've covered Virtute the Cat Explains Her Departure for the Weaker Thans tribute album that our friend Emma in Canada put out. And those Virtute songs, man, they slay me. And the fact that he wrote this whole series of songs that are from the perspective of a cat, but they're not goofy. They're not joke songs. They're very serious songs. It starts with this cat giving a pep talk to their owner who's struggling. And then by the end of the series, the person is in rehab and the cat ran away in the second song and has since probably died and is now just like speaking to them in their memory. It's devastating. I was actually just like playing like half an hour I was playing on guitar and I was playing For Today at Rest, the last one. And like, I can't get through that song without crying because it's so devastating. So that was definitely what I had in mind when I wrote Strays. I had left a really toxic job and I kept saying to my partner, like, I feel like a scared rescue dog, like started a new job and it was really, really positive. But I just had this like fear that someone was going to yell at me. I was going to get in trouble. I was going to get fired. And I wanted to do something with that. So inspired, by the way, John K. Sampson was able to write about the cat. I was like, I'm going to take this scared rescue dog metaphor. I'm going to apply it to how I'm feeling. And I'm going to broaden it. So it will sound like it's about a relationship, because it can be about any type of relationship, any type of experience. And it's been really cool to hear different people share, their experiences that they relate to it. I'm really proud of that song.
For me, I think the one I relate to the most is probably Big Life. Because I have that dichotomy of, I want to go out, be invited, but also fuck people. I just want to stay, because I'm so introverted. Like, my dad be extroverted, but sometimes I just want to be left alone, but I want to be thought about.
Totally. And that's also, I think, the struggle for a lot of performers. Like, many writers are introverts, and people think about performing, they think like, oh, those are extroverts, but there are like extrovert performers. And then there's a lot of us introvert kind of writers and people who really have a drive for self-expression. And we also have like a drive for community and connecting to other people through music. That's why we do it. But sometimes we just want to be alone for extended periods of time. In Big Life, I really wanted to capture that struggle. And that ended up being, the title of the album, and really the theme that drives that whole album of like wanting connection, appreciating your friends, the excitement of connecting with new people, and the comfort of having people who've been in your life for a long time that you trust, but also just the difficulties of being a person in the world and how sometimes it just feels easier to just disengage.
What strategies do you use when you're out on the road and doing stuff like that? Because it sounds like it's something that you guys both have in common.
It's hard. Like, it's hard to get alone time when you're on the road. So there are times that it is really challenging because I know what I need and I'm like not really getting it. But ideally, like, once we get into a town, I will kind of go off on my own for a bit and just like wander, because I really do need like that solo recharge time. Or like, maybe I'll be the one who goes to bed a little earlier. Like at Fest, I was sharing a hotel room with one of my bandmates, and she would like to stay out talking to people later, and I would just go back to the hotel room and go to bed when I need to go to bed, and maybe wake up and take some time for myself in the morning and that kind of thing. And just knowing that it's okay to do your own thing. Or like, sometimes I need to eat a meal, and like other people are not really doing that, and like I go off and take care of my needs. So it's not always possible to do that, but when I can, I do.
I really don't get a recharge time till I get back. So I'm usually good when I'm on, like, even though I'm on peanuts, I was still actively talking to people. We had those 2 days off where we didn't really talk to each other, but we were all able to get rest. Like, after I come back from a tour, just from like going to Fest or even like Puza, I need 2 days in my bed, not in my room, not in my house, just lying in my bed. Unless Flood or Ed or somebody else is texting me, my phone's off for everybody. I just need to just lay there and just put an indentation in my bed, in my mattress. So
That's fair.
that's usually my recharge time. But
you feel like when you're actually on tour, you're just like on the whole time, and you like wait until you get back to crash.
yeah, I feel like I can be like, if I feel like my heart cut off, if maybe like 11 o'clock, because I gotta go to bed. I gotta just be away from people.
Mm-hmm.
He's also the king of the Irish goodbye in that situation. He's just gone. He's just
All
gone.
right.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. You will just not see me, and then you'll be like, "Where's Kiri?"
But there's one night on all that tour where we went back to our friend's house, and right after a night of drinking a shit ton of Malort and just too many beers and shots, like, he just brought out this just giant bottle of like hard cider for us to try. I took one shot, and also, to my defense, I had tonsillitis, so I had medication I needed to take too. So I just Irish goodbye, went downstairs, just passed out completely. Like, y'all can party, but I need my sleep.
What is touring like for you guys when you're out and about? Like, how are you guys planning tours? What are you doing to stay sane while you're on them?
I mean, honestly, we don't really get to tour that much because everyone is so busy and has different schedules. Three of us work full-time jobs. Mikey takes tours. He's a professional drummer, so he's playing with Laura Jane Grace presently, so he'll be out for a month or so at a time sometimes. We haven't toured too much. We'll do more like weekenders or go down to Fest or whatever. So then it's usually more manageable, when you're not doing those like long stretches. The longest we ever did was, I think, 10 days, and that was back when we put out our first record, the tour we did with Derek. And I'm okay with like doing smaller stuff. I like weekenders. I like festivals because you get to just like go somewhere, just really be there, get to see everyone and, hang out with your friends, see a bunch of bands and then go back. I feel pretty okay with that and not like grinding it out and having to be like somewhere random on a Monday night and hope people come out. That's just real tough when you're actually DIY touring for a longer period of time.
I know you guys live in Brooklyn. When it comes to playing in Brooklyn, what bands are you playing with and or who are you paying attention to?
There's a lot of great bands in Brooklyn right now. We recently played with Desert Sharks, who are an all-women kind of garage punk band. Such an incredible live band if you ever get a chance to see them. We played a show this year with a band called Sorry Darling. They're like power pop. There's another band called Wifey that's kind of power pop. I feel like there's a lot of that right now. Like a lot of the punk bands that we used to play with kind of gone away over time. Like a lot of bands didn't really come back after COVID. So the scene is kind of shifting and we were meeting, connecting with new bands, but it feels like there's a lot of like energy and kind of like the indie pop, power pop area, which is something I'm like a huge fan of. So I love playing with that type of band. And I feel like we're pretty genre flexible. We can play a punk show, we can play a pop punk show, we can play a folk punk show, we can play an indie pop show. And I love all that stuff. So I love that flexibility to just be able to play with kind of whoever.
I love that too, just that ambiguity of you can just be on whatever building and it just fits. That's what Flo said about you as well.
Oh, cool.
Do you have any favorite venues out in Brooklyn?
There's a venue called Our Wicked Lady that I really love, and they are doing a fundraising campaign now because they're in danger of closing. So I'm hoping they can stick around. It's tough. There used to be DIY venues, and now there are barely any. If there are, I'm maybe too old to know about that. If anyone's doing like super off the radar kind of house show stuff, but it's mostly bars now, and they just get pushed further and further into different neighborhoods because there's just areas like the area that I'm in Greenpoint, Williamsburg, Brooklyn. There used to be a ton of venues, like so many that we had our own music festival, and now almost all those venues are gone. So it's really hard. You constantly have to stay on top of what's opening. Like you can just lose all your venue contacts because all those places just go away, and it's just a constantly shifting landscape.
I mean, the last venue I played there. Well, we were not just playing Long Island, but in Brooklyn, in 22, I played at a knitting factory. And I remember like a few months after that, it just closed down.
It closed. I think they reopened in Manhattan again, but I haven't really heard much about that since they did. And yeah, I mean, St. Vitus was a really, really vital venue near me and a metal bar and had heavier shows, but also really, really great for the punk scene. And that closed really abruptly. Yeah, it just sucks. Like you never know when you're going to lose another spot, but people always find new places and just kind of keep it going. There's always going to be somewhere to play.
Things like the pandemic, how did that affect you guys as performers?
For me, the music scene is my social life, like going to shows, doing band practice, making music. Like that is the way that works best for me to connect with other people. Like I don't drink. I don't really like to hang out at bars. I don't really like to hang out in groups. Like I'll have like one-on-one friendships, but like mainly how I like to engage with other people is through music. So that went away and that was really, really hard. And I had trouble even writing music. Like a couple of the songs that are on Big Life, I wrote during COVID, but I had a really hard time being creative. I was just so disconnected from people. And then it was hard coming back because I think like some people really, really missed music and couldn't wait to get back into it. And then some had kind of taken their lives in other directions, like people we know in bands like moved upstate or like had a kid or so that's when it kind of hit me like, oh, like this is my thing that I need in my life. And like, I can't wait to get back to it and do more of it. While there are some people I know who have actually moved in other directions and moved away from that. And that really struck me. Like, I didn't expect that. Like, it was one of those like getting older moments, of like, oh, for some people, like this actually fades into the background and they have families or they have like really intense jobs or other priorities. And it just kind of made me realize like, no, this is still my priority. This is still like my creative life and my social life and my friendships and where I still really want to be putting my energy.
Did you do the live streams when COVID was happening?
Not really. I really struggled with the live streams. I did one right at the beginning on our label at the time, and that was really positive. And then I did a second one where I was just hit by the anxiety of like playing. You're just playing in your room, like to no one. And that just really stressed me out. And after that, I was like, I can't really do this. I couldn't do it solo. Heidi and I ended up doing a few like later on, when we felt comfortable like being in the same room, we did some like duo live streams. But I learned that I really don't like sitting alone in my house and playing at a screen. I find that really, really stressful and really lacking the type of connection that I get from being in the room with people. Like, I'll make a video. I've gotten into TikTok and stuff. Like, I love dashing off a little video and putting it up, and like the connection you get by people responding to it. But I don't enjoy playing like live into the void.
Speaking of videos, can we talk about the puppets in Strays?
Sure.
Like, it's such a great idea. How did that come about? How did you guys do that?
We were working with this director, Brendan McKnight, who is super talented. And I told him something that Flood from the label and I both share in common is that when we see an abandoned stuffed animal, like a giant teddy bear or something, it just like really tugs at our heartstrings. And so I had this idea that I was going to adopt like a giant teddy bear that I just find or something. And then Brendan had this great idea as we were kind of going back and forth and refining it. He's like, what if it was a puppet? Because that would be more active than just a stuffed animal that you're like having this kind of relationship with. So I went on eBay and I looked for some puppets. We were looking at some that were like animals, and we were just like, what's the funniest puppet we could get? And there was this pack of 2 puppets that someone had. They look like bootleg Muppets. I don't know if they're handmade. Like, they look similar to Muppets, but not specific characters, which obviously we'd want it to be like Elmo or like a known character or something, you know? So we saw this like pink and purple puppets, and one of them has a bow, and I'm just like, oh, these are so weird and amazing. So we were able to build this storyline of like, what would it be like if I find this puppet on the street, and then we like have adventures and do all these activities together. And it was just so, so fun to film. I love how it came out with a sort of like, you know, little bit of a Sesame Street vibe in the end when we're all like singing together with the puppets and stuff.
Are you planning any more videos for this record?
No, we just did the 2. We did one also with our bassist's fiance, Sam Beal, who is a professional director. He directs commercials for Broadway shows, and he wanted to do this on the side as something creative. So he did the video for Beetlejuice, which was different than anything we've done. Usually our videos are comedy videos, like comedy sketches, because that's just really fun for us. But his was more kind of artistic and really visual and getting these like incredible shots of Brooklyn. So that was really fun. But yeah, we didn't get a chance to do a 3rd one. It's a lot of work to make videos, and we have a really high standard for them. We love making like really, really professional ones, and we're lucky to know so many people who are professional level talented folks. But we just sometimes you have to cut it off at a certain point because it's so much work putting out a record and like so many different things you have to juggle.
Out of curiosity, I struggle with this. I know Flood's trying to get me more and more into it too, but I struggle when it comes to like, I'll use Instagram, I'll use Facebook, but I struggle when it comes to TikTok because I don't like being known just like being known as a content creator, if that makes sense. So I don't want to just continue to just put out reels to compete with somebody else doing something really fucking stupid online for them to get like 5 million views. To me, I just get one comment that's meh. Like, so how do you feel about that? Like content creating?
For me, it's helpful not to think of it as content creating, but like what is fun for me to make in a way that I can engage with other people. And I actually really like TikTok because I feel like there is a music community on there. Like on Instagram, I feel like we're posting for the people we know and the people who follow us, you know, our friends, our fans, the bands that we're friends with. But on TikTok, I've connected with a whole different set of musicians and bands from around the country and people who are interested in discovering new music actively. It's just been about like just finding what's going to be fun. If there's a trend that I have an idea for to engage in and just dash something off in like 5 minutes, or I decide to just sing like a little clip of one of our songs, like the threshold is low. Like you don't have to really be like making content in a sense where we think like you're writing or scripting something complicated. It could just be you lip syncing to like 20 seconds of your song and you're just putting the lyrics up on the screen, or you're saying like, this is what this song is about. And it gives people a chance to actually connect with it. Or you're just like working on a cover in your house, playing a song you like, and then you just film yourself playing 30 seconds of that cover and you put it up. And then people who like that artist will connect with you because they're like, oh, you're a Mountain Goats fan. Like, I'm a Mountain Goats fan. Maybe I should check out your music because we both like the Mountain Goats. Like, I've gotten new fans that way and connect with people that way. So I go in waves. There'll be maybe a week or 2 where I'm making a video every day. And then maybe I won't make one for a couple months because, yeah, it doesn't work for me if it's like a chore. It only works for me if it's like a creative action I can take in my day of like, oh, I have this idea. That would be fun. I'm just going to like spend 10 minutes making this video and then I'm going to post it. But the focus won't be on like how many views I get or how it does. Like if it quote unquote does well, that's a bonus. But it's really more like, oh, that was fun. Like that was one of the things that I did today for my creative life. Like I recorded this cover or I made a little video and like that was fun.
For me, it's band shirts for that stuff. That's why I love buying them and wearing them and seeing other people in them because I can't trust myself with TikTok. I had to delete it from my phone. I lost 6 hours to it one night and it's 4 a.m. and I had to be up at 7 a.m. and I'm like, I'm not allowed to have this. I have no self-control.
It's really addictive. And it's tricky because it's like if I'm on Instagram or like I deleted Facebook and Twitter from my phone, but especially those like, and I'm scrolling, they make me feel bad. But the thing with TikTok, like it doesn't really make me feel bad. I mean, if I engage in a lot of like political stuff, it does. But if I'm like just watching like music videos and like I follow a lot of animal stuff and like funny stuff, then it's just like, oh yeah, this is fun. This is fun. And it's like you forget that it is bad to be on the scroll that long if it's not actually making you feel bad. So I still have to like set those boundaries for myself of like putting it away. Also, if I've like posted something, it is addictive to keep checking like the little dopamine hit of like, oh, did someone else like my video? So those are the times when I'm like actively creating that I am more addicted to it because I'm like opening it to see if someone liked it and then I'm just watching it. So I have to be careful about that.
And let's off some of our favorite game.
What game is that, Ian?
Guys, motherfucker. Guys, you should know, okay, we have some quick fire questions for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this will be quick, but I'm curious because I've seen a lot of weird shit in New York. What's the weirdest shit that you've seen?
I don't know. It's like we see weird stuff every day in New York that you just kind of stop acknowledging what's weird because people are always just like in costumes and just like doing strange things. I think for me, it's like the kind of everyday celebrity sightings. Like you get used to it, but my one of my favorite stories is like when I was in high school, my mom would dress as Miss Frizzle for the book fairs in middle and high school. And so she was like known to everyone and she knew all the parents. And one of the parents in our school was Steve Buscemi. And so she's just like casually talking to Steve Buscemi and comes over and introduces me to him. And I was like, oh, Kiri, this is Steve. He's an actor. And I was like, I didn't really know who he was at the time. This was like pre me, like watching Reservoir Dogs and Ghost World in college and stuff. And I was just like, oh, cool. What were you in? And he was like, oh, I was in Armageddon. I was one of the guys who went up in the spaceship. And to me, that's just like such a fun memory of like meeting Steve Buscemi at the book fair and having him tell me he was one of the guys who went up in the spaceship in Armageddon, because that felt like the appropriate touch point to tell like a 15-year-old.
Out of all movies that we were known for, yeah, Armageddon. That
Really, really the top of his IMDb.
That does remind me, though, about one of the things that I do love about this scene of ours is that there are people who, like, we would all go apeshit just, like, seeing somewhere. 99% of the people in that restaurant have no idea who that person is. They're like, why is everyone so excited about this?
when I was in DC, I was seeing Blue Jane Grace. That's before like I toured with her. I remember just sitting in some Vietnamese restaurant. She was there with Paris. And then my friend Jamie said, yeah, this owner of this restaurant will never know they have Rolling Stones mention artists just eating their food.
Yeah, that's so funny. Like our celebrities within the scene are like people that would not get recognized.
Yeah. All right, so I've got one. I would like your Mount Rushmore of dog breeds.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I was always a cat person and didn't really pay attention to dogs. And I feel like it was only really maybe during COVID that I had nothing to do. So I just walk around my neighborhood getting excited about people's dogs. Number one, Samoyeds. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Samoyed.
What?
It's a Samoyed.
Samoyed, is that true?
Yeah.
Samoyed. I have looked it up and no one ever told me that. So thank you. They look like they're always smiling and they're fluffy. I love them. Number two, Australian Shepherds. They're just adorable and have so much energy. And I love how they just like have the instinct to herd stuff. When I was a kid, I really loved the Yorkies. I feel like I never see them anymore, but I'm going to put them on there. And I love when they have a little bow. And, Corgis, of course. Corgis, and a special mention of a Corgi that's mixed with anything else. I saw a meme or something that I liked recently that was saying that like that, yeah, like any kind of corgi mix just like looks like a corgi in that other dog's costume.
Yeah.
And then when you look at them, it's really true. Like you can mix a corgi with anything and it's just so silly. It really just like does look like it's wearing a costume, this little stumpy dog, and it's suddenly got like spots or whatever.
Follow up 4 favorite cat breeds then, if you're a cat person.
Ooh. I didn't think-
It's so much harder because like even
No.
I'm somebody with a lot of cats and I'm just like, yeah, cat.
Yeah,
cat.
I mean, especially if you're like into rescues and stuff, it's not really like breeds. It's more
Yeah.
like orange, tuxedo, tabby.
But let's go with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Or naked cats. Everybody loves a naked cat.
Oh, naked cats are weird. Yeah, my friend had one for a while. No, I can't say I love them, but I heard that they're very cuddly, so that's cute.
Names, like there's a whole musical about that. And a movie about that too.
You're not getting through an episode without talking about cats.
No, we can't ever. I'm so disappointed when I said
Twice.
I've still never seen cats in any form, and I don't know that I ever will.
you are missing out. You're also missing out on driving with Ian and having him sing the entire soundtrack. To
Listen,
Cats.
I can't help that list my head rent free. I grew up with my mom playing that in the house all the time. So it's
I
embedded
love
in my
that.
head.
That's my
We've
favorite
talked
thing.
about touring together, so I look forward to the cats
Yeah.
sing along.
Oh.
Maybe you can get me into it.
And if I'm driving for that, if like we're renting a vehicle and whatnot, you guys are in so much trouble because like Ian and I will just literally put on musicals and sing the entire time. Like
Oh,
I
we-
feel
we
like I'm
there.
breaking the.
I have certain musicals I could sing the whole thing, but I don't know if it's the same ones that you
Ooh.
guys can.
Now here's mine. Give me your Mount Rushmore musicals.
Rent,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Come From Away is probably my favorite show if fewer people have seen it, but it's just like a perfect show. And Hadestown.
I really want to see Hades Town. I heard so many good things about it.
It's really good. I've seen it twice, and like it grew on me. Like at first, I was kind of like, I don't know about this, but then when I like went back and listened to the music and saw it again, I was like, this is a really beautiful show, and yeah. So
I feel like it's
that's
gonna
been
be-
a more recent favorite.
I feel like that's going to be like Hamilton for me, where I've listened through it, and I don't think I'm going to get it until I see it. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Hamilton, I did not like until I saw it, and then I'm like, oh no, I get this now. This is.
yeah.
this
I
is
tend to go
fun.
into shows cold. I mean, when I was in high school, I was super obsessed with Rent, so I think I probably listened to that before I saw it, and that was like my favorite musical for a long time. But with like Hamilton, I decided to go in cold, and I was just so blown away by it. And then I listened to it for like 6 months straight, and then I saw it again. Like it's a real privilege living in New York, and if you can, find ways to get like lottery or discounts and stuff, and like actually have the chance to see something twice. I know most people can't do that, but like. That's what I really love. Like going to something cold, seeing it once, and then getting really into the music, and then seeing it again, like as a fan who's going to just like hear songs that you love and often see a different cast perform than you saw it before.
I think the older I got, the more I understood Rent. I'll say that. The more I feel like it was more relatable. So now I think that's one of my favorite ones of all time. Like that, Jesus Christ Superstar. And I love Joseph and a Dreamcoat. Like that's one of my favorite. I'm not religious at all, but those two I just truly just fucking love.
Yeah, I
And-
saw those both as a kid on Broadway, and those were both really cool to see.
And whereas I love all the classic stuff, like I fucking love Cole Porter. I'll watch any Cole Porter thing. Put Kiss Me Kate on, and I'm done. Or whatever. I'm like,
Kiss Me
yes,
Kate
this
is great, but
And
yeah,
then-
I've been more into the modern stuff, like just the idea that you can have, a rock musical, a hip hop musical, the fact that people are still evolving musicals with modern types of music, like that's what really gets me.
All right, now we need to all bully Flood to start the ska punk jukebox musical.
Yes. Look, I will say I just watched for the first time Wicked Part 1. And that was intense, but it was so fucking good.
I haven't seen it yet. I really dislike the idea of doing a part 1 of a musical. I really dislike that. I think it's a cheap cash grab to make 2 movies and make people wait, because that's not how a musical is meant to be seen. You would never see half a musical. And then
I blame Harry Potter for that. Like when they did Part 1, Deathly Hallows, and Part 2, like that started out a trend that I despised.
I blame
Yeah.
Harry Potter for everything.
Yeah. Well, Harry Potter ruined a lot. Well, not Harry Potter ruined a lot. J.K. Rowling ruined a lot. What bands do you want on bucket list to tour with?
You? I don't know. Like, I feel like I used to feel like you had to dream about like whatever big bands you're going to open for. But for me, I really love just like playing with our friends. It doesn't have to be about like, oh, my bucket list like person to open for. Because like playing those bigger shows is such a like cool opportunity, but it's very stressful. Like the fun thing is when you're just like hanging out with your friends on the road. So like you, Derek, Apes of the State. I love them. Would love to do more stuff with them. I think that's where it's at. Just like playing with your friends.
No, I fully agree. I do feel like Monday lost evening and stuff. Like I still kind of felt stressed out from that. But while I'm at Fest or also at Cruiser, like they're just fucking having fun with everybody. So I do
Yeah.
feel that.
When we opened for the Hold Steady, I mean, that was obviously a huge dream come true, but it's stressful. And like we talked about, I was like hiding in the dressing room after, just being like, we just did that. Oh my God. Like, so it's like you can appreciate it more maybe after, but when you're there, like it's hard, especially like when you're playing for people who don't really know you and it's like a full room and you have to win them over. That's such a different vibe than just like being in a DIY show with like all friends and like people who know your music. Like that's why I do this. That's what I always wanted from being in music, just to just like be at fun DIY shows where everyone is like into it.
And out of curiosity, because I fucking love Whole Study. How was Craig Finn in person? Because I love his stuff so much.
Craig is great. He's so nice and so smart. And yeah, just all around brilliant songwriter, wonderful person.
Now, we've dove into the introversion thing, so maybe this question wouldn't apply. But let's say the three of us were all out at karaoke. What song are you singing?
Oh, I love karaoke.
Yes.
But I love karaoke when it's like you're putting on songs that everyone knows and you're all singing along together. I dislike performative karaoke where you're just going and being like, I'm showing off. That's not fun. I love doing some Alanis, like some ironic, really just like 90s girl stuff is always really fun. And then like, some Green Day, just stuff that everyone's gonna get like vibing on.
Give me your top 4 90s bands.
For 90s bands, I already mentioned REM, and obviously they span a lot of decades, but I definitely loved a lot of the records from the 90s. I'll say Gin Blossoms, That Dog, definitely one of our influences in Early Riser, and Alanis. I'm sure there's many, many more. Those are just what come to mind in this moment.
I love Alanis' voice just so much. And Jagged Little Pill is just a fucking perfect record.
It really was. I just saw her perform the other night there on TV. There was like a benefit show for the LA wildfires, and she performed and she sounded great. She still 100% has it. Her voice sounds amazing. She looks great. And I never got to see the Jagged Little Pill musical. I had tickets for it in March 2020.
Oh.
It was like March 20th. I had my tickets, and then I think it eventually did come back, but then I just like never, like maybe in like 2021, but I never got to see it.
How do you feel about jukebox musicals overall?
I don't love them. I've seen some of them. I'd prefer when they're more of a story, if it's going to be sort of like a biopic one. Like I saw, what was the one about the Temptations? Ain't Too Proud. The Temptations musical. I went to that. I liked it because you really learn about them and kind of their history and just what it was like coming up for them and a lot of the racial dynamics at that time in music. So that was really interesting, like mixed in with their songs. But the ones where it's just, the songs shoehorned in, they're usually pretty silly. I did enjoy the Britney Spears one because Justin Guarini was in it and he's an underappreciated Broadway star. I'll go see him in anything. He was great. So I had a fun time at the Britney show. But like it's a Britney show. Like you know what you're getting into. It's just gonna be like campy and fun, whatever. But for the most part, I do avoid jukebox musicals, but I love the recent trend of like musicians writing musicals. Like the fact that Hades Sound is written by a musician. Like whenever I see that a musical is written by an actual musician, I'm like, yes, sign me up. Like I want to check that out because musicians will bring such a different sensibility to the writing than someone who's just so like from the Broadway world.
See, I think me and Ed talk about this about jukebox musicals, but I feel the same way. I like when it's very cohesive, like across the universe. That's another jukebox musical, like on film, but it's still told a story, but it just incorporated all Beatles songs into it. So it still felt,
That's true. I like the movie.
it still felt good. But then I went to Moulin Rouge for the first time, and like everything was just kind of thrown together. But
I've never seen Moulin Rouge somehow. It was
With
so
a-
big. And
with a
yeah, I
cro-
just managed to avoid that.
With Across the Universe specifically, I like that it's transformative and it's not just playing. Like some of the songs are completely different than they are in the Beatles catalog.
Mm.
And I think like a jukebox musical would be a good opportunity to do stuff like that. But the thing is, it doesn't seem like a lot of them do. So that
Right.
tends to then it just kind of feels like a cover band with more dancing sometimes for me. So I don't
Yeah.
always vibe with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's for the tourists. Like, there's always going to be some of those. I can always seek out the ones that are going to be more interesting and original.
So you're a born and bred New Yorker, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do some kind of pizza question. So you live in the place where the pizza's the best. We can't not have a pizza question.
I'm
man.
also vegan, so
Okay,
I can.
where's the best vegan pizza in New York? There we go. That made it so much easier. Thank you, Kiri.
Nailed it down. Narrow it.
There's Vinny's. There's Polly G's. There's a place called Screamers that I really love, but it closed. I don't know whether they still have a location. A lot of places have closed. Those are the three that come to mind.
How tough is it, like being out and performing when you're vegan, or have things gotten better in that regard?
They've gotten better. I mean, it is definitely harder when you're just like at gas stations. Like, sometimes if you're on tour and you're like in a city, then you can get something. But if you're just playing like outside of a city and you're just basically going to gas stations, like some of the gas stations have more food than others, like whether it's Wawa or Sheetz or whatever. Some of them you could get like a veggie burrito or something, which is fine and good. But like, yeah, our last run of shows, it was tricky because we'd be somewhere where we like, there wasn't really anywhere around. We didn't really get dinner. And then we're like at the gas station at midnight and I'm having to eat like a soft pretzel or like a Cliff Bar and naked juice. That's kind of my go-to meal is Cliff Bar and the naked juice. But that's not satisfying to eat at midnight when you're like hungry and you just want hot food and they don't have any hot food for you. But yeah, like if you're in an actual city, then it's like, it's super fun to get to go to the vegan places. If you're in like Philly or Boston, and all the East Coast cities have like a lot of really good stuff.
Well, where's the favorite place that you visited that had the best vegan food outside of New York?
I just mentioned Philly and Boston. They both have like really, really good spots. I haven't been in either of them for a while, so I'm not even sure exactly like what places are still open, but like Blackbird in Philly was always a favorite, and like the Galaxy Diner in Boston. It's another place that I think it's called Life Alive that we always go to in Boston.
I need to get more than vegan food, honestly. Like I love jackfruit, so I like the texture of pulled pork. So I've always been big into like jackfruit dishes, but I want to try to get in more of those. Not out of me wanting to become vegan, but just I do like how some vegan food tastes, honestly.
The best taco I think I ever had almost was when we were on tour up
Kingston?
in Canada, in Kingston, and they had vegan tacos, and they were probably the best thing that we ate up there. I would say that
Nice.
on that run.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's like people put vegan food in like a whole separate category. It's like, it doesn't have to be a whole separate category. It's just like, you're just not eating meat in that thing. You're just having something else in it. You're having jackfruit in the taco or tofu in the taco. But like, for the most part, the food is going to be about like the cuisine and all the other stuff in it and the flavorings. And, you can have like for me, like I don't think about like what I'm eating as like, oh, I'm having vegan food today. It's like, oh, I'm having tacos, I'm having pasta, I'm having stir fry. It's like any cuisine pretty much, except for like straight up steak or like maybe French food or whatever. Like most cuisines, like there's vegan versions of it. Actually, there is a vegan French place now. I just heard about in New York, have not been yet. But yeah, like there's any kind of food you like, there is like a version of it that doesn't have to have meat or cheese or whatever. And yeah, it's fun just like exploring that. It totally doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing either. I think a lot of times people get intimidated by it, like, oh, like you're vegan, I can never do that. It's like, you don't have to, but like it is good and healthy to like eat vegetables and eat a variety of food and just like be curious about trying different stuff.
What's some hidden gems in Brooklyn that you think some people should visit if they travel through Brooklyn? If I'm traveling through Brooklyn and I don't want to do like all the touristy stuff or just New York in general, like what would you recommend?
There is a Brooklyn Museum that's really incredible. And also near that is the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens and the Brooklyn Zoo, Prospect Park Zoo. And those are all three things that I love and I think are worth a visit.
I think that was a good game, a good round, right? Kiri, thank you so much for playing with us. Tell us what else you have going on. I know I think this will air after your show that's coming up. That's what day? Is it the 8th? When's your
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a show this
so
weekend.
I'll edit that stuff out because this will go up next week.
Okay.
Oh, actually, wait. Today's Monday. Fuck it. Kiri, what do you have coming up? I can get this out
Depending
by
when this
Wednesday. I can
comes
get this out by
out.
Wednesday.
Yeah. Leave this
You
in.
sure? All
Leave
right.
this in. Yeah.
Leave it in.
We're playing a show this Saturday, February 8th at Bowery Electric with American Television from DC and Night Surf and Houseboat, which is another band that Mikey plays in. And don't have anything announced after that yet, but definitely check us out on Instagram or TikTok at Early Riser Band, and we'll be sure to put up any of our show announcements, anything else we have coming out this year.
Okay, it is so good to see you as always.
So good to see you and so great to meet you, Ed.
Trust me when I say we're going to do some more stuff together this year. Mark my words.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
This show is the brainchild of Black Guy Fawkes folk punk griot. You can find him on all the social medias as Black Guy Fawkes or Black Guy Fawkes Music, as well as on Bandcamp. Merch, music, and ticket sales are how independent music gets sustained, but word of mouth also helps a great deal. The intro and outro are both from the song New American Meltdown by Black Guy Fawkes, so that's legally covered because this is his podcast, and that is his song available on the album Life, Love, and the Bomb. Additional music elements provided by Ben Dumb Production Music. Check out more at bdmusicproduction.com for all your bespoke royalty-free background music needs. Sound design and editing by Ed Coulard, who appears courtesy of his dog and many, many cats. Cover art by Jacob Matthews, a pal who has been down since day one. Finally, while Fawkes and Friends firmly believes that punk rock is and should be a safe space, we know it can't be safe for everyone without excluding bad elements. So remember,
So tell your local Nazis and your fascists to fuck off.
I know you're ready, Abe.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, shit. All right.
As soon as I go silent, I'm ready.
Well, yeah, say when you're going silent first, so I know.
You should know that I'm silent because I'm not talking. It's been so long since we've done this, we forgot how it works. Somebody's been
All
too
good.
busy.
Someone's a rock star touring the country.
Listen, facts. I can't help it. I'm sorry. That's an outtake.
Yep. No, that was the first thought I had. That's how this episode ends unless you fuck up something real good, or I do.